Hey, Jen, what are we talking about today?
Ooh, do you think relationships have life cycles?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes you have to walk away from a client.
And sometimes clients decide they've gotten their best from you.
Yep. Next up is our tribute to Kenny Rogers. Know when to hold 'em and know when to fold 'em.
The Speakeasy Podcast, real talk about leadership and sanity in the creative industry. I'm Jen Estel.
And I'm Karen Steffel. Managing creativity in business? We probably have an opinion on that.
No prohibitions.
Clearly, we have cocktails.
Let's talk about this cherry blossom. At first, it scared me because I don't like cherry anything, but I like this one a lot. What's in this one?
Yeah, so lime, grapefruit, and tequila makes it feel like summer. You can add as much or as little tequila as you like, depending on how sweet you like it. And we're using 1800 silver tequila.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's got some grenadine in it, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And that gives it the beautiful color. So it's not a cherry drink. It is a delightful drink. I love anything with grapefruit. So you guys check it out.
I was just going to say that. I do love grapefruit. And grapefruit and tequila are a great match.
They sure are. So we're going to be having this one again. All right. So let's talk about
We're talking about breakups.
We're talking about breakups. This Kenny Rogers thing, it cracked me up. I just love it. Karen came up with it. It made me so happy. Then I started thinking, is the song like, is that about breaking up or sharing cigarettes or good advice? But it sent me down this ridiculous rabbit hole of breakup songs. So I feel like there's some stages of them, right?
Mm-hmm. So like the first decision would be what?
Well, it's the decision to break up. And that's where know where to hold them, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
what else?
I came up with a couple other ones. So 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Do you remember that song from when we were kids?
Paul Simon. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that one is so funny. I have memories of being a little kid singing it in the car with my mom. And then The End of the Road from Boys to Men.
Oh, middle school maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Deciding to break up.
Yes. What's the next stage?
Okay. The next stage is Knowing You'll Be Okay. And there's like two songs that I think are the epitome of this. And the first is I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, which...
Yes. How many times have you sang that in the top of your lungs or from the top of your lungs in your car with your girlfriends?
Oh, so many. But the strange little secret is the band Cake did a remake of it, and I love Cake very much. And this is one of my favorites of theirs because it's got good trumpets. I love them. But
yeah, they're great.
Love this one. And then, so the one that we decided that neither of us liked, what was that, Karen?
Taylor Swift. We're never, ever getting back together.
Right. And so, like, you know, it's like, well, no, we're going to be okay. We're for sure going to do this, and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine.
This is fine. We're fine. I'm fine. Look at me. I'm fine.
Yeah. I don't care if we're breaking up. We should break up. We're good. And then there's that last beautiful stage.
Yeah, where you finally have your heart right and you're thinking, you know, I always have a soft spot in my heart for you and I'm good now and I learned so much from that phase. What's the song?
I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston.
Oh, Whitney.
Do you remember the movie The Bodyguard?
Yes, Kevin Costner was such a good man for her in that movie.
I know, and her voice was so beautiful. And so, like, I feel like the Whitney, I Will Always Love You is the epitome of after the breakup and you're looking back on the fond memories, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, maybe we'll put together...
This is maybe the most we've waxed poetic about our clients.
Ever. I think we should put together a breakup song list on Spotify. That would be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Check and check.
Check and check. No, but really we kind of want to talk about, let's talk about when clients break up with you, because that's pretty hard to stomach when you're somebody like Render or Redhead, right?
Oh, for sure. I think it's only really happened to us maybe once that I can remember where the project just didn't go well. And I don't know, I'd have to really reflect on it. Maybe it's because it wasn't a match to begin with, right? But I just remember it being awkward communication, and it was hard to really get the client to really truthfully articulate what they needed and wanted. And so then we didn't deliver correctly, and then that was frustrating. I don't really remember a ton of specifics, but it was painful.
Was that breakup in the midst of a project or after a project? Do you remember?
Yeah, It was after a project, but it was very clear that they were just glad that it was over.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the blindsided, right? We've had one of those too. We've only ever had one of those where we were super blindsided. And, I will say I was not the one in the room that got let go. It happened to a teammate of ours, but our team went into the room thinking we were kicking off the next year's project. And instead got told, we're not doing this anymore because we felt like your service lacked. So it was a super blindside. It happens.
I mean, so there's lots of reasons. So we're talking about kind of where it's not a match. We're talking about failure potentially, or, I think sometimes a client moves on. You know this. You have gained clients before because your client moved on to a new role in a new organization, right? So then they brought you business. So for that reason, that would be a reason why we might lose business also.
Yeah, because everybody has their favorites. And, when you're on the receiving end, you want to be the person who comes along, right? You want to have a great relationship with your client. And when they move to another organization, you want them to take you with, which means somebody who's the incumbent has to go. So as a studio, we know how that works, and we're okay with that. Sometimes it's natural, and sometimes it's really healthy to have turnover. But when it blindsides you, like your example and my example, that's never a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we can understand when it's like budget or, a key person moves on. Like those are just kind of natural ways that things kind of refresh themselves or turn over. But if it's a service issue or a trust issue or a failure, that's on you. And that's so hard.
Yeah,
that's so hard. And, you expect competition. You expect you're not going to win 100%. But the things that you have control over, you better make sure your A game's being played, right?
Yeah, and on top of that, it's always that remembering not to get comfortable and make an assumption that, this one's on lock, or this one should be easy, or I'm feeling very confident, because it's very easy to slip into neglect when you're having those feelings. Not even intentional neglect, just, it's just like a relationship with a new person. At the beginning, you're very attentive and you're very excited and you're enthusiastic and you really want to know what they have to think. But once you become comfortable, the attention to detail can slip, right? And so you can't, and that could definitely lead to a breakup. So you can't let that happen.
Yeah, I think apathy is a cancer in any relationship.
Yes, that's true.
I've always said when we're in like a new contract period, or we know we need to, put together a proposal for next year's budget for that client. I've always said to my team, this is our client to lose. Like, we're already the incumbent. If we've done all the right things, every step along the way, then we still have the upper hand. So it's our client to lose rather than you have to scrap to win, right? So I think it's always best, as everybody has always said, it's more expensive to get a client than to retain a client. The best thing you can do is just not to lose them in the first place.
That is true. And so then this is sort of taking us a side route from what we thought we were talking about, but what are your tactics to make sure that you're not losing them in the first place?
I think service and experience is key. I think if you're really listening to your client, you understand the difference between what they want, what they say they want, and what they need. And you're able to translate what they're saying into a proposal or a creative proposal that is meaningful to them. And I think it's really, really important that, especially in our lines of work and service-oriented businesses, service-oriented B2B, that you have to understand what the thing is that you're doing for them, what it means to them. Because this isn't about the deliverable always. It's about what that deliverable symbolizes for that company or that organization. Because if you don't have a connection to that, then you haven't really tapped into the gravity of the thing that you're participating in.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we always say all the things we do seem like creative things, but really they're just business tools. And if you don't understand and care about the business goals, you're not going to make good tools, right?
Yeah.
And so really understanding the point of it. You're not making a video for video's sake. You're not making a new logo or a website just for the sake of a new logo or a new website. You're making it to solve a business problem and to hit some sort of strategy or goal. And so if you're not respectful of those strategies and goals, it's really easy to feel like you're just turning it into a commodity. So keeping your eye on that larger goal, I think, really does help.
I also think it's important, 100% agree with you. I think it's also important to understand underneath the business goal, your client has a very specific professional, personal goal that is underneath the success and performance of the thing that you're engaging in. And while that shouldn't be your first motivation, knowing and understanding what it means to that person as a professional and how they look and what it will do for their career, I think is also meaningful.
Yeah, I think it is. And, you say it's not your first consideration, but maybe sometimes it is because, we always say our job is to challenge our client to do excellent work, but our job is not to make their life harder or make them feel like it's a cumbersome lift. Your job is to support them, to help them articulate their needs and to help them put their best foot forward. And if you can take that very seriously, especially if you have a quality client, wanting them to succeed in their career and feel some sort of pride in the work that you guys are doing together is just a great way to run your business, right? So that's how to not break up.
Right. But clients are going to say no. And whether that's a prospect or an existing client, at some point, somebody's going to say no. Right.
Oh, yeah. How do you feel when the breakup happens?
Listen, I'm so competitive. When I get a no on a proposal, it's taken me a long time to have that not, make me feel a certain way. So I have to realize that it's not personal.
Right.
And I think sometimes.
But is it personal? It's personal. It's your business.
Oh, for sure. But here's how I look at it. Sometimes I think a no is a gift in disguise. If somebody didn't get your value that you articulated to the best of your ability in your proposal, a no might be a gift in disguise. Because you may have, if it's a no, if it's a budget no, then you would have over-delivered.
That's 100%
and they wouldn't have
true.
understood the value. You would have been training that client to expect a lot for a little.
For sure.
So there's a lot of reasons why a no might be a blessing. And so that I kind of, maybe I'm fooling myself or making myself feel better by having that point of view. But I think sometimes a no is a blessing. It's just not a match.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, really. I mean, I kind of poke at you about it, but I think that that's true. You don't, if it's meant to be, it's going to be, which sounds super cheesy, but I believe that it's true. If somebody understands your way of approaching something, if they respect the budget and the expertise you're bringing to it, that's going to be a yes. If for some reason, especially like you said, if the no is budget, I have no ego over that whatsoever. Well, your loss, we're not the right person for you. Best of luck. Let us know if we can help some other day. That's very easy for us to swallow because we know that we don't discount to a significant degree for most of our clients, right? So when the no comes from somebody who you thought was going to be when the no comes from somebody you thought was going to be a fit, I think that's a blessing in disguise because it makes me self-reflect and see, did we not communicate what we do well enough? Mm-hmm. How could we have changed this process? How could we have changed this outcome? And so sometimes that's good because that self-reflection leads to growth. But then other times, well, we're just not going to be a fit. And, have you ever walked into a meeting with a prospect and right off the bat, it's going to be a no, like from the first 5 minutes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're just not your people, right? So that prospect can break up with you.
Yeah. My most recent no on a proposal both fired me up and made me super annoyed, but also was a really great way for me to go, well, then that just wasn't the right fit. It was an RFP. I appreciated that it had a limit to 2 pages as a response, which is great, right? Because sometimes you write and write and write and write and write. This was a 2-page response. You had to demonstrate your your understanding of their industry and provide a solution and a price, not to exceed, right? So I even knew what my threshold was. And when I got my no, I was so floored. And so because I didn't know the person, I just said, hey, I totally understand. I hope you have a great experience with the person that you've selected. Can you let me know what my deficit was? And she said that the company that they selected, they thought went above and beyond because they put their logo on the proposal cover sheet.
Oh my goodness, are you serious?
Mm-hmm. And I didn't put a proposal cover sheet on it, which I normally would, because it was an extra page.
Oh. So. Oh yeah, see, I like to bend the rules on those page counts. I'm like, the cover page doesn't count. But what that says to me is that client is focusing on the micro things and not the really important things, right? If the client is focusing on something minute like that, which is easily solvable with a conversation, they're not really listening to the larger message. The strategy and expertise and all those kinds of things. We lost a client once, very similar to you. We really wanted it. We put a lot of effort into pitching. And when we lost it and we asked the question, they essentially said, well, the other agency showed that they could put our logo on a chapstick. I was like, we can put your logo on shit. Anybody can put your logo on a piece of shit. That's not the point. You know what I mean?
On a chapstick.
Everybody can put your logo on a goddamn tchotchke. Of course you can. That doesn't even need to be said. Like, that was my reaction.
You could put your own logo on chapstick.
There are websites out there for all the things. So after we picked our chins up off the floor and dusted them off and tried to think, okay, so maybe that means we didn't articulate our breadth of skills or services, or maybe it just means that the client was thinking small things and we were talking about the big stuff and we wouldn't have been a fit. I'll go with that one, because everybody can put your logo on chapstick. Oh my goodness.
I didn't put their logo on the proposal.
On the proposal or on the chapstick. Yeah, because the thing about it is, once you hire somebody good to do the good work, the small things, like slapping a logo on it, anybody can do. Your intern can do that. You don't need agency rates to get that stuff done. I don't know. Yeah, but it stings. It stings once in a while, but it's really good to think that means they wouldn't have been a fit for the way we think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and speaking of not being a fit for the way that you think, there are times where you have to break up with your clients. That's hard.
True. It is hard. And sometimes it takes a minute to take because you don't want to be rude and blunt about it. We had a client we needed to break up with. We just weren't in alignment anymore, and they really didn't need us. And it took us 3 months of progressively more obvious conversations until they finally really understood it. So I don't know if that means we did a bad job of saying you're fired, or if that means, I don't even know what that means, but it took them a while to take the hint.
Yeah, I took the road my last time I fired a client, and it was a significant financial risk, but it was what I knew needed to be done, and I had thought about it for 2 years. It was a 20-year relationship.
That's a long time.
And I just finally said, I didn't drop hints. I just finally said, I won't do this round with you again. I won't do this project with you again. It no longer aligns with my values, and I can no longer say yes when I can't say yes to money when I don't agree with the philosophy. And it didn't go well. It was very much a how dare you and you'll be sorry. It was not great, and I've not spoken to that person since. And that tells me that in 20 years, I was just a transaction who I thought was with a friend.
Yeah. When they threatened you.
So I haven't looked back.
Do you feel like that burned a bridge or affected your business in any way?
No, I worried about it quite a bit after that because it was very much a how dare you, you'll regret this. And I think that more than anything, it's opened me up to focus on things that I'm truly passionate about. I'm not going to look in my rearview mirror about it at all. And when I was treated like I was simply a transaction for something to happen, I knew I'd made the right decision.
Yeah, for sure. And
because if you can have a grown-up conversation about it, then there's your answer.
And the fact that they would react that way speaks volumes as to why you weren't in alignment anyway. And at that point, you don't want to just be a vendor doing what somebody, cleaning the corners that somebody points at. And if they're going to have that kind of reaction, they just saw you as somebody providing a replaceable service, right?
Yeah, I wasn't bringing value anyway. So, and I didn't need to give up my team's capacity on an annual basis for that person anymore.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense.
It's hard though.
When it's not in alignment with where your business needs to go. And that's, sometimes breakups happen because your business has changed, or where you want your business to go has changed, or the skill set that you keep in-house are different than a skill set that the client needs. And so when you can articulate, hey, client, it's time for us to part ways, I think that's a very grown-up thing to do to, number one, be brave enough to let go of that revenue, because that's a scary thing for business owners. But number two, to open yourself and your space up for something that's a better fit or a more satisfying fit, or something that will round out your portfolio in a way you want it to. So I think that that's a brave decision.
Thank you. It took a lot of courage, but what I really saw was that if I didn't do it exactly when I did it, I knew I had other eyes looking at me, my very valuable team. And I knew that my talk and my walk had to align, and that I had to do it for my team, for myself, for my company, but for my team. I knew they were watching, and I knew that they wanted the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up such a good point, that as a leader, depends on what kind of business you want to run. But as a leader, you have to understand, is this client or is this relationship affecting my team in a way that is going to drain them, or make them feel stressed, or make them feel unsatisfied in their day job, because that's not very healthy either. So sometimes that breakup with a client is so you can not have to break up a good team. Yeah. And I knew that my moment, I knew when that moment was right in front of me, and I had to do it. Yeah. Dang, it's pretty fast. Good for you, man. I'll tell you though, Karen's brave. Dear listeners, she's a brave one. It's true. She makes good decisions.
I try. It was all that playing Scruples when I was a kid. Did you ever have Scruples, that game?
I remember it. That's funny. Right along with the Kenny Rogers, right? Childhood memories.
and the Michigan Rummy. And euchre.
Oh, yeah. Good old euchre.
Speaking of which, this cherry blossom would have gone good with a good old game of euchre or Michigan Rummy.
It's true. It's a delightful drink. It's got a really pretty color to it with the grenadine, and the lime and the grapefruit is a really good combination, so you guys should check it out.
Summer.
It's a delicious one for sure.
If you like this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. What are we talking about next time, Jen?
Next time, it's a juicy one. Guilt.
Ugh. It's a powerful emotion. We've all experienced it, to be sure, sometimes more than others.
How is guilt playing a role in your personal and professional life during this work from home experience?
Oh, man. I can't wait to dig into that. I feel like it's going to be therapeutic to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a useful episode. So we will see you all next time.
Cheers.